All praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Yahweh Double honors to the elders and apostles, a great millstone who taught me this truth and rule well. Yahweh is the name of your heavenly Father, it means he is. Yahweh Shai is the name of his Son, often ignorantly and mistakenly called Jesus. It means he is who saves. Ruach HaKodesh is the name of the Holy Spirit in Hebrew, Ruach being spirit, Quadash being the Hebrew word for holy. The real Hebrews are back, and there is the thing known as the controversy of Zion, where people didn't really know who the real Hebrews are, but they consist in the modern times of 12 tribes. That is Judah, which are the African Americans and the Negroes, West Africans. Benjamin, which are the Jamaicans, Trinidadians, and the West Indians. There's Levi, who's the Haitians, the priesthood was given unto them in the ancient times. Reuben, which is the Seminole Indians and the Aborigines of Australia. With Issachar, which are the Mexicans. Naphtali, which are the Hawaiians, the Samoans, and South Pacific Islanders. Manasseh, who are the Cubans. Zebulun, which are the Colombians, Panamanians, and Guatemalans. Simeon, which are the Dominicans. Asher, which are the Brazilians, Argentinians, and Venezuelans. Ephraim, which are the Puerto Ricans, and Gad, which are the Canadians and the what you call the American Indians or the Native American Indians. So these are the true 12 tribes of Israel, and pursuant to prophecy, they are waking up and coming back and remembering their speech, their tongue, and their ways, it says in the scriptures. Seek for the old paths, or ask for the old ways. I want to get that scripture because I love that. I'm not sure if I can remember it. Old paths. Let me see if I can find that. Old paths. Jeremiah 6:16. Thus saith the Lord, stand in the ways and see, and ask for the old paths, where is the good way, and walk therein, and ye shall find rest for your souls. But they said, the Lord told us to ask for the old ways, the good ways, the ways that lead to profit. It says in the scriptures, there's a way that seems right. Seems right, and you see if that can get down. Proverbs 14:12, there's a way which seems right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. So a lot of people, they look at the scriptures, they look at the Bible, they look at prophecy, they look at the world, they look at all the different stumbling blocks and spiritualisms that are out there. They'll pick and choose, they'll treat it like a buffet, like a spiritual buffet. Yeah, that kind of that feels right, I'll agree with that. And they will try and do, with all sincerity, will try and do the right thing and be the right person and follow, but it's according to their own judgment. This truth isn't according to our own judgment. We're given this truth. It says that the land, and for a long time, one of the curses for the Hebrews mentioned, or the Israelites mentioned, as the 12 tribes which I just mentioned, was to be divorced from their ways, to be separated from their ways. Let's look at Psalms 83 real quick. It says, 2, for lo, thine enemies make atonement, and they that hate thee have lifted up their head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and have consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more remembered. For if they consulted together with one consent, for they are confederate against them. So, really, different nations have come together in order to try and do as much as possible to get the true Hebrews to forget who they are, forget that they rewrite the Bible as if they've put so many stumbling blocks out there for us. They've stopped people from being allowed to read in history. Even in modern history, they kind of they try to modern times they try to come up with those are kind of historical. They're trying to reverse the history of slavery, rewrite the history, tell people that it wasn't as bad as it happened, and it wasn't just the African American Negroes, West Africans, and those people that were taken into slavery. But we do know that the Irish did well also in slavery. Many of those were Israelites, but they weren't really in the same way. They were taken as indentured servants, so they were trying to work off a debt, or they were putting themselves in that position with the hope of coming out without those debts, or maybe with a little bit of profit. So their shacklement wasn't the same as ours. Let's have a look at Deuteronomy 28 and 38 from 15, I think. From 15, and it shall not go aside, but if thou shalt come to pass it, thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of thy God, to observe to do all of his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come and overtake thee. Cursed shall they be in the city, and cursed shall they be in the field, cursed shall thy basket and thy store. Jacob, their store. We talk about generational wealth. There isn't really generational wealth inside of the quote-unquote black community. So their store is, will carry on. The store is that, where you store your wealth, right? But your basket is also, how much profit you make on a day-to-day. In modern day parlance, that would be maybe your salary. That Jacob also always says is the first hired and the last hired and the first fired, and that there's massive discrepancy. We talk about discrepancy between salaries of men and women. There's also a massive discrepancy between salaries of Jake and Eden. Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body and the fruit of thy land. So the fruit of thy body is your children. Now, what better curse? What better example of the curse of the children? Well, there's two that come to mind straight away. The first being that the most dangerous place for Israelite or a black man is inside of the womb. So that's a curse of the fruit of their body. And then even if you do make it out, the majority of them end up being what they call YNs. Let's carry on. And the fruit of thy land, and the increase of thy kind, and the flocks of thy sheep. That's again talking about your wealth. Cursed shalt thou be when thou comest, and cursed shalt thou be when thou goest out. The Lord shall send upon thee cursing, vexation, and rebuke, and all that setteth thine hand unto for you to do, until thou be destroyed, and until thou perish quickly, because of the wickedness of thy doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me. So, because we forsook, we turned our back on Yahweh, now the Lord had put the curse on us, turned his back onto us. The Lord shall smite thee with consumption, and with a fever, and with inflammation, and with extreme burning, and with the sword, and with blasting, and with mildew, and pursue thee until thou perish. And this is really interesting, really, when you look at Jake, you look at his physique, how much power he is, and then you look at the medical history, and you look at the life expectancy, and you look at the diabetes, and you look at the gout, the swelling, and you look at the inflammation that Jake has to suffer, and you look at the rate of heart disease, hypertension. The Lord shall cause you to be smitten before thine enemies. Thou shalt go out one way against them, and flee 7 ways before him, and thou shalt be removed from into all the kingdoms of the earth. You know, and that's interesting because it says not removed from all the kingdoms of the earth, but removed into all the kingdoms of the earth, because at that time, you know, before the Lord scattered the Israelites, you know, King David's kingdom and King Solomon's kingdom, one of the most powerful kingdoms together. You know, they were making treaties and all sorts of that. And even Alexander the Great made treaties with them. So before they were scattered, I think around that time, that was when the scouring was happening. But before they were scattered, you know, King Solomon's kingdom was one of the greatest kingdoms of the West. And then you're being removed into all kingdoms, showing the scattering, the diaspora. You know, we can't say the same for the small hats. We can't say the same as happened to them. Yeah, there's a few in Turkey, and there's a few in Poland, and a few in Israel, and a few in America. But not scattered across all kingdoms of the earth. And thy carcass shall be meat unto all the fowls of the air and unto the beasts of the earth, and no man shall fray them away. The Lord will smite thee with the botch of Egypt, and with the emeralds, and with the scab. And the emeralds are the cancers, and the tumours, and the scab, and with the itch whereof thou cannot be healed. The Lord shall smite thee with madness, and with blindness, and astonishment of heart. And thou shalt grope at noonday as the blind gropeth in darkness. And we're talking about noonday in the darkness. Noonday is the time when the sun is at its highest, when everything, you know, there's the least amount of shadow because the sun is directly above the earth. But you're groping like there's, and that is also with regards to, you know, spiritual guidance. If it says that, you know, and we'll go into that in a minute. We're talking about stumbling blocks and the ability of the people to stumble shows that they had no spiritual guidance. They were blind. We'll go into the blindness, and we'll go into the concept of sight and the concept of vision. Thou shalt betray, and thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee. And it's true, only oppressed and spoiled, only exploited. You could go to even it happened recently in Jamaica. There was I read watched a news article about Chinese gone to Jamaica, built a hotel, no doubt employed, you know, Jamaican labourers to serve and to do all the dirty work, but then said to them that the people aren't allowed to patronise, their own people aren't allowed to patronise the hotel. So the Jamaicans burned it down. But you know, and if you go, whenever I've been on holiday, it's like the Jakes. You know, everybody's driving in their fast cars and looking out, where the Jakes, how the Jakes doing. And you see them on the beach selling towels, or they're selling roasted meats. You know, everywhere you go, Jake is spoiled, oppressed, used for his labour, used for his work. But at the same time, not really seeming to get that level up, you know. And we can see that happens economically. We can see that happens in terms of education. Jake is put into areas, into places where the school and the education system isn't that great. We can see that all the time, and at the same time, you know, the artist, the times where Jake's brilliance isn't able to be hidden, such as where we have the sports stars or music stars, where you can't take credit. See, the thing is, in all these other areas of business, you can take credit for Jake's work. You can put him in the background and and then pass it off, get that work done, get that cleaning done, get that work, get those rooms nice and spotless, and you can pass it off as your own work. But the difference is, when it comes to sports and music, you can't pass off a black man's work as your own work. So in those circumstances, you actually find it's the music publishers that are exploiting the black man. It's the sports managers that are exploiting the black man. That's where you see Jake. He's in his element, but he's still under control. Even we see there's whole networks, the whole organizations dedicated to the exploitation of people once they get to a certain level in the so-called musical sports industry. Let's carry on. It says, "Thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt build a house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and thou shalt not gather the grapes thereof." And that's what happens to us. All of this is just what I was talking about. Put the work in, but somebody else comes and takes the cream off the top and gives you a little bit, just enough to survive until the next day. "Thine ox shall be slain before thine eyes, and thou shalt not eat thereof. Thine ass shall be violently taken away from before thy face, and thou shalt not restore to it. A sheep shall be given unto..." And that happens, we see people, particularly in I'd say West Africa. The other countries coming in, mining, drilling oil, getting the diamonds, getting the crude oil. In Nigeria, other companies come to Nigeria, drill out the crude oil, take it away to refinement, and then sell it back to the Nigerians for a higher price. Can you imagine that? That's like somebody coming into your garden, picking an apple, washing it, putting it in a nice basket and trying to sell it back to you. It's wild. "Thy sheep shall be given unto thine enemies, and thou shalt have none to rescue them. Thy sons and daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fail for longing with them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thy hand." And this is going through into the slavery, where children were separated from their parents and given to other people to serve. And there's no might in there, and the people there looking. So this is what these are the curses that have gone out. But this is what I'm trying to get to. I think it's at 38 really. But let's get into 36. "The Lord shall bring thee and thy king, which thou shalt set over thee, unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, and there shall serve other gods, even other gods, wood and stone." And we talk about the stone at Mecca. I can't remember. They all go to Mecca. Black stone. It's black. And then the wooden cross. People are worshiping behind the cross. Worship images, graven images. 37. "And thou shalt become an astonishment and a proverb and a byword among the nations, whither the Lord shall lead thee." Yeah, an astonishment. And if we're talking about an astonishment, we can talk about world star Hitler, bum fights, anything where there's, or just the whole of Twitter, really. Just, people just looking. There's a TikTok website called I think Croydon Extra, and then you've got all just crazy happenings in Croydon. 90% of those things is Jake. People just laughing. It's like, oh my God, how far Jake has fallen. Look at that. Look at that. Black man doing that. Look at that. Violent. Whereas I think it's in the book of Acts, and we're talking about some of the apostles. There was one guy from Niger, but now that word is a byword. Let's see. Now there was in the church at Antioch certain prophets and teachers as Barnabas and Simeon that was called Niger and Lucius a Syrian. So that goes to show you basically that they were, these people were Jakes. Because in the original, I think Niger or Nisha was meant black. We'll get into that in a minute. Thou shalt carry and shalt gather it but a little in, and the locust shall consume it. Anyway, going down, I think it's about 16. Her eye shall be evil towards her husband. Also every sickness and every plague. I mean, this just reads like the what you might call the quote unquote black condition. So you just read the whole of Deuteronomy from 15 on down, and you'll see the black condition. But maybe it was 38. Hold on. Simon, I wonder, must only be 28 and 46. He says, moreover, all these curses shall come unto thee and pursue thee, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. So you just understand that it's for a sign and a wonder. Okay, so we understand the wonder bit. The wonder bit is, oh my God, that people can look upon the quote-unquote black people, aka Israelites, and say to themselves, oh my God, look at their condition. But what does the sign mean? What does it signify? It signifies that these are the people. These are the people of the curse. These are the people that have been cursed under Deuteronomy 28 and 38. You didn't see nobody going to no small hats on ship going into Egypt. We didn't see I don't walk around and see small hats selling hats and towels on beaches. I don't see small hats on World Star Hip Hop having bum fights. I don't see small hats on spreading degeneracy throughout their communities in their music. I don't see it. I don't see it. Maybe someone else sees it. I haven't seen it. If someone's seen it, please let me know. I don't see small hats suffering from lack of generational wealth and being exploited by others. I haven't seen it. Maybe they are. But I haven't seen it. I'd like to see it. I'd like to see it just, as a proof that they fit this scripture. So Isaiah 61. Didn't get into that. It says, starting from 6. But ye shall be named the priests of the Lord, men shall call you ministers of God. Ye shall eat of the riches of the Gentiles, and in their glory shall you boast yourselves. For your shame ye shall have double, and for confusion they shall rejoice in their portion. Therefore, for your shame ye shall have double, and for confusion they shall rejoice in their portion. Therefore, in their land they shall possess the double. Everlasting joy shall be unto them. For I, the Lord, I love judgment. I hate robbery for burnt offering. And I will direct their words in truth. And I will make an everlasting covenant with them. And their seed shall be known among the Gentiles, and their offspring among the people. And we understand mostly in the Bible we're talking about Israelites in a Gentile state of mind, talking about Israelites that have been brought up, under Antiochus. I can't remember Antiochus Hypericles. I can't remember his name, but under Antiochus, to be Hellenized. Those laws that were brought in that were Hellenizing the ancient Israelites and forbidden their customs, as seen in the Book of Maccabees. But basically, Maccabees, the first book of Maccabees, really. Antiochus. So the Book of Maccabees, first Maccabees, will give you the history, and it gives you a good secular history. One of the reasons why you see that this book has been taken out is to see how the Bible actually isn't just a fairy book, actually relates, how it ties in with secular history. It says here, now Judas had heard of the Romans that they were all mighty and valiant men, and such as would lovingly accept all joined themselves unto him to make league of amity that came unto them, and they were great men of valor. It was told him also, and also you have to understand that Rome at this time was what they would call a metropolis. It was composed of many different peoples, of their wars and noble acts which they had done among the Galatians, and how they had conquered them and brought them under tribute. And when they had done in the country of Spain for the winning in the mines of silver and gold, which is there, and that by their policy and patience they had conquered all the place, though it were far from them, and all the kings also came against them from the parts of the earth, but they had discomfited them and given them great overthrow, so the rest did give them tribute every year. Besides this had discomfited them by Philip, Persia's king of Scythia, but with others which had lifted themselves against him and had overcome them. Also Antiochus, the great king of Asia, came against them in battle, having 120 elephants and horsemen and chariots and all very great army, and was discomfited by them. How they took alive in the covenant that which he, such as reigned after him, should pay a great tribute, to give hostages, and which was agreed upon, and the country of India, Media, and Lydia, and the goodliest of countries, took it and gave to Eumenes. So you can see here in the Book of Maccabees, first Book of Maccabees, that there's a lot of secular history you can go into. I'm not going to go into it now. Antiochus, I can't remember his name, his surname, Let's see. And it talks about Alexander the Great. Alexander's son is Philip the Macedonian, which you know Alexander the Great was a Macedonian, so you can go into the first Maccabees 1:1 and read how the Bible corroborates the story of Alexander the Great. Antiochus Epiphanes. That's his name, Antiochus Epiphanes. Anyway, I'm going to shut up there. I just have to get that bit. I don't know why it's I think I'm just getting this is the Muhammad Dash, Al-Shah Dash, Muhammad Dash, double honors to the elderly, blessings of the Alcohol and faithfully following this word, pursuing this truth for herself, righteous acts and motion. Yahweh's movement